What happens if you don't put your phone in airplane mode? You feel the plane start to taxi. The seatbelt sign clicks on, a voice crackles through the cabin, and somewhere in the announcement comes the usual request. Please switch your phone to airplane mode. So you do. You tap that little airplane icon, watch the signal bars vanish one by one and lean back, figuring you've just done your part to keep everybody safe. Here's the thing though, that's not what the toggle is for. Your phone was never going to knock the plane out of the sky. The people it could actually mess with are all the way down on the ground, thousands of feet below your window, a guy merging onto the highway, a dispatcher waiting on a call that won't come through, somebody in a little town you're about to pass over at 500 miles an hour. Airplane mode was never a shield for the aircraft you're sitting in. It's a small courtesy to a whole river of invisible traffic you'll never see. To get why that toggle even exists, you have to rewind to a time when bringing a phone onto a plane was a brand new headache nobody had really thought through. Back in the early days of mobile phones, regulators started getting nervous about what a handset actually did once it left the ground. Down here, your phone has a quiet little conversation with one tower nearby. Lift that same phone a few thousand feet up though, and all of a sudden it can see dozens of towers at once, scattered across the landscape below like lights on a circuit board. Instead of one clean handshake, it starts shouting hello at every one of them. The aviation folks had a second worry on top of that, whether all those stray signals might get tangled up with the navigation and radio gear in the cockpit. Though honestly, hard proof for that one never really showed up. Caught between the two fears, a simple habit slowly turned into a rule. Just switch the thing off before takeoff. Later on, engineers rolled that rule into one tidy little setting, a single tap that shut down every antenna in the device at the same time. So the airplane icon wasn't really born out of proven danger. It came from caution about a gadget doing something it was never designed for in the first place, reaching for a network from up in the clouds. To really see the problem, try picturing the air around you painted in colors your eyes just can't pick up. Every call, every text, every video buffering on a screen is riding along on a radio wave, and each of those waves has its own wavelength. Think of each wavelength as its own shade of color. The second you dial a number, your phone tosses a colored signal toward the closest tower, and that tower hands your call its own private shade, one that's just a hair different from everybody else's nearby, so your conversation never bleeds into some strangers. It even gives your phone one color for talking and a separate one for listening, so the two streams don't smear together. And these signals are shockingly strong for something that fits in your palm. The way one comparison puts it, if human eyes could actually see radio waves, a phone in use would supposedly light up bright enough to be spotted from the far edges of the solar system. For a good while, there were plenty of colors to hand out. Then the supply started getting tight, phones multiplied, Wi-Fi showed up, then wireless speakers, then wireless pretty much everything, and every last one of them wanted its own slice of the spectrum. The air that used to be nearly empty got packed, and here's the little detail that ends up mattering for everything down the line. Your phone doesn't sip its power politely. When it's having trouble locking onto a connection, it works harder, cranking out a louder and louder signal, just hoping some far-off tower will finally pick up. A phone stuck in a dead zone isn't a quiet phone at all. It's a phone yelling into the dark. Now take that straining phone and stick it on a plane. Up at cruising altitude, it's ridiculously far from any tower, so it does exactly what it was built to do. It winds its output all the way up and flings the loudest signal it can manage down toward the ground, desperate for a bar or two of service. One phone doing that on its own is barely a blip. But a plane doesn't just sit there. It rips across the sky at hundreds of miles an hour, and that means it can carry your shouting phone from the faint outer edge of a tower's range to almost right on top of it in a matter of seconds. And when that happens, the tower, which was expecting some faint, faraway mumble, suddenly gets hit with a signal way stronger than anything it was set up to handle. For a second there, that single phone can drown out the calls of everybody standing underneath it. Now picture a whole cabin full of passengers doing the same thing. Then multiply that by all the planes crisscrossing the skies at any given moment, and you end up with a steady drizzle of interference raining down on the networks below. That's the real reason the toggle stuck around, way more than any fear of the plane itself. Not because a text message might flip a jet upside down, but because a few hundred phones up at altitude could quietly muddy the connections of thousands of people who never even left the ground. So really, the modern airplane toggle is a muzzle you put on yourself. Leave it switched off mid-flight and your phone starts acting a lot like a jammer. One of those devices that floods a frequency with so much noise nothing else can squeeze through. It's not being mean about it, it's just in the wrong place, doing its everyday job somewhere that everyday job turns into a problem. And it doesn't stop with airplanes either. Just about every gadget you own leaks a faint little haze of stray radio waves, your laptop, your wireless charger, that cheap pair of earbuds buzzing away on the desk next to you. On its own, each leak is basically nothing, but stack them up across billions of devices and they lay down a low hum of static over the whole system, nudging your internet a touch slower and your cores a touch choppier. And that little bit of slowdown kicks off a chain reaction nobody actually wants. Frustrated users pay for more bandwidth. Carriers scrambling to give it to them snap up bigger and bigger stretches of spectrum. To pump that signal out everywhere, companies launch more satellites until the whole sky is wrapped in a mesh of transmission. Every fix just feeds the next demand, and that palette of colors that once seemed endless keeps getting carved into thinner and thinner slivers. So that little blinking airplane icon? Turns out it's one tiny pressure valve in a system that's straining under its own success. But the strangest fallout of all isn't down here on the ground at all. It's way up above us, past the towers, past the satellites, out at the very edge of what we're able to see. Astronomers listen in on the universe using radio telescopes, these enormous dishes tuned to catch the same faint waves your phone spends its entire life throwing around. Certain slices of the spectrum are supposedly reserved for exactly that kind of work, kept quiet so the dishes can pick up whispers from clear across the cosmos. Except those protections hardly ever get enforced. A giant instrument like the Very Large Array can scan across a huge range of frequencies. But the moment it drifts toward the bands that modern networks have crowded into, the heavens can just vanish behind a wall of earthly noise. Somewhere out there, a phone hunting around for a signal up in first class is shining bright enough to wipe out a whole galaxy. These days, there's almost nowhere left on Earth that's truly radio silent. Satellites and networks have wrapped the entire planet in this faint, never-ending glow of transmission. And only a handful of protected valleys stay quiet enough for the biggest dishes to peer deep into space to trace the black hole anchoring our own galaxy, or gather the light from galaxies billions of light years away. So that one little tap before takeoff was never really about the plane you're sitting in. It's a small pocket of quiet in a world that just keeps getting louder. One glowing airplane icon standing between a crowded sky and the last clear view we've got of the stars.